Conscious incompetence. What is it? Conscious incompetence is a very long-form way of saying exactly what it sounds like. To be consciously incompetent is to know that you're doing a bad job, or knowing that you have a lot to learn, more accurately. If you are consciously incompetent, that means you are aware that you are incompetent. And most people, when they are conscious of their incompetence, they kind of feel bad about it. They feel ashamed. I know I'm not good at communicating in a relationship. I know that I'm not particularly good at working out. I know that my fitness levels aren't great. I know that I'm not well spoken. I know that I'm a bit of a slob. I know that I'm always late. Conscious incompetence, right? This is the first step. Being self-aware enough to know that you're not particularly good at something, this is the first step to improving. The first step in fixing a problem is knowing you have one, right? That's basically what conscious incompetence is, but it's a point in a linear scale. This is the scale. Full disclaimer, I don't know where this is from, I just googled it, and this is the first thing that came, not first thing, but second or third thing that came up, and I'm just using this, okay? So, everyone, when they're starting something new, starts off somewhere actually around here. And as they like it, they will do it more, they will become better at it, they will become so confident, so competent, or they think they're becoming competent because they're so confident, that they come to what we call stage 1, which is unconscious incompetence. These are the people who think they know a lot about something, but in reality they don't. And this stage doesn't exist for a lot of different fields and a lot of different things in life, because there's so much context surrounding that thing. Like, let's take, for example, learning the piano or learning an instrument. There's never really a point in this scale where you think where you don't know that you're bad, basically. Unconscious incompetence is not knowing that you're bad. When you start playing an instrument, you know you're bad, because you have so many different things to compare it to. When it comes to this, with respect to gaming, people have a tendency to think that the hottest, best shit in the world because they topped the leaderboard 1 time, or 2 times, or 3 times. They're competent to a certain level. They're not necessarily bad, but they're not good. There's probably a bunch of different factors going into why they think they're as good as they are. Maybe they're on a hot streak, maybe they are a little bit good. Perhaps they're just predisposed to think this way about themselves. Whatever the case may be. Unconscious incompetence is the first step. You'll have a lot of people on Reddit and Discord, and in the YouTube comments of this video as well, who will think that they know everything there is to know about this game, that they have discovered something, or they're playing in a certain way that makes them the best player that they've ever seen, that they've personally ever seen. They know enough, and they know better not to compare themselves with people who are very, very good at this game for a living, like your ZKs, your Frostbolts, and your Grenader Jakes. But they know they're not as good as them, but they know that they're a level under them, and that level under them just so happens to be better than everyone else. So that gives them the confidence to then say, hey, listen to me, I'm better than you. That's stage 1. Thinking you're hot shit when you're really, really not. At some point between the transition years, something happens, you get humbled. Either you get humbled because you decided in your confidence to 1v1 someone who slapped you silly around the shop. Maybe you decide to seek out our community scrims in our Discord server, discord.gg/Nomad, where you thought you were really good at the game, then you came into scrims and you got your ass kicked. Or maybe it is you found content, or you matured, or you learned more about the game, and you learned more about PvP and all of that, to realize that, oh, I'm just beginning. This is just the start of what I know. And that's where we get to conscious incompetence, is that at this point, you're decent, you're above average, for sure. But you're just scratching the surface. And it's this realization that you're scratching the surface that makes you feel like, oh my god, I am nothing. Now, okay, listen. This may be true when it comes to like learning an instrument or learning any sort of trade or any skill. But when it comes to video games, this curve is probably not as steep as other things in life, right? It's a video game. There's definitely things to learn and things to improve on. And Destiny 2, especially the PvE side of things, has a huge learning curve. There's so many different mods and builds and armors and whatever. In PvP, again, this curve relates to strategy and loadouts and chemistry and team builds. It's not necessarily about like mechanical perfection, because the mechanical ceiling is much lower in Destiny than it is, say, Valorant, okay? Conscious incompetence is the realization that you are starting to become good. And it's with this attitude that you move forward and you graciously accept new information, you learn new things, you try out different stuff. You're making a conscious effort to become better. You're starting to become a little bit more mindful about just the way you play the game and the way you perform in the game. This journey leads you to this stage, conscious competence. And this is what I would describe myself at. Now, conscious competence is like, you know you're good, and you know why you're good. You know the permutations of how you could be better. And the only thing separating you between this stage and unconscious incompetence is time at this point. This point, you know you have a lot of knowledge. You can apply the knowledge pretty good. Are you consistent with it? Probably not. Do you have to think about it a lot? Yes. This is conscious competence. This is the level where you can reliably start giving advice and start helping others on their journey. I would say a lot of teachers generally tend to be around this or somewhere in between these two sections. Unconscious competence is where things are so natural for you and you understand everything there is to know about this game that you just don't have to think about it anymore. You don't have to think about laning next to cover. You don't have to think about understanding the range limit, the damage fall off of your hand cannon. You don't have to think of, you know, your cooldowns and keeping track of opponent cooldowns and keeping track of what's been thrown, how many sniper shots have been used in that Trials match, keeping track of what supers they have and how that affects their cooldowns with respect to intellect. You don't have to think about any of that. You just know, because you've done it so much and you've done it so often that it's just become second nature to you at this point. Unconscious competence is the realm of the extremely gifted. It's the realm of the extremely talented. But I want to make one thing clear. Unconscious competence is not some realm that is locked away to the most genetically gifted members of society. No. Talent is just hard work. Talent is created. Talent is perseverance. Talent is not just, you know, learning well and being a good student, but also applying it and trying it and practicing it day after day after day to the point where you get to the stage of unconscious competence, where your mental bandwidth is free to occupy itself with other things rather than the stuff that most people focus on just trying to be good at. When you're unconsciously competent, you can start worrying about the next level thing, the mental side, the strategy, the communication, just like allocating your mental bandwidth to making sure that the base functions you don't think about are executed more efficiently and better and better. And that stage, that's where people say, look at this guy, he's really talented. That is conscious incompetence. Hope that was helpful. If you like this video, you know what to do. I'm Ascendant Nomad, and I'm your Crucible Doctor. Cheers.